make a public comment, and that's Carol Hemphill. And Carol, if you would please come forward, I would ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes. And we welcome you, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. I want to thank you as well for the opportunity to speak with you. I recently spent considerable time reviewing both the 2002 Sunset Commission recommendations as well as your December 2011 self-evaluation, and I wanted to share a couple of my observations. The public deserves to have some assurance that those individuals who are offering and providing engineering services are technically competent and will be held accountable for practicing in a manner that causes no harm. The public deserves protection from individuals who lack the verifiable knowledge and skills that may mislead and endanger the public. These are the board's own statements justifying their continued existence and necessary functioning. You further stated that the regulation of engineers was established to protect the safety of the citizens of the state of Texas, and that removing oversight of the licensure of engineers or the regulation of engineering would leave the public vulnerable and at risk. Your agency mission statement is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the people of Texas by regulating the practice of engineering through licensure of qualified individuals and compliance with the laws and rules. You state that the agency is charged with protecting the public by enforcing the Texas Engineering Practice Act, and that there is a clear and present need to continue the agency's work of holding practitioners accountable to state laws, including standards of conduct, to ensure that engineering is practiced in a safe and appropriate manner, and that you say that the continued regulation of the practice of engineering is essential to maintaining a safe Texas. Clearly, in the board's opinion, the reason you exist is to protect the public. The public and the citizens of Texas are your customers. I am the public. I'm a citizen of Texas. I am the customer, and I have been caused considerable harm by the actions of a licensed engineer and have been further damaged by the actions and practices of the Board of Engineers. I have and will provide considerable evidence that the Board fails to perform as to their legislative intent, fails to protect the public of Texas by licensing unqualified individuals, and further by protecting unqualified and unethical engineers and their firms. In your self-evaluation, you also state that licensing engineers is intended to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse again today about the licensing, but the board did license an individual who did not meet the minimum criteria, did not pass the NCEES exam, cannot be licensed in any other state because the NCEES does not recognize that license. And this violates the laws of Texas, and citizens of Texas are being harmed by that. In your self-evaluation, you also state that compliance and enforcement is key to protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Since the inception of the agency, the need to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public of Texas have established the importance of the enforcement of the statute and the board rules against violators. The Compliance and Enforcement Division enforces the laws that protect all citizens in the state of Texas who are exposed to engineering services. These are your statements, and they're true, but they mean nothing if they're not followed. In the most recent Sunset Commission required the board to open an enforcement action upon receipt of a complaint. They did not. The commission mandated that complaints should only be required to provide enough information for the board to determine jurisdiction. You do otherwise. The board is required to assign one case number to a complaint, and they did not. The investigative staff is to be trained to ensure that they understand investigative techniques, and complaints should be resolved in a timely manner. The staff doesn't even contact witnesses. A complaint took over 700 days to complete, and they held on to a complaint for 3 months before even sending it to the responsible party. For a citizen to be forced to file an unnecessary additional complaint against an involved party in order to find out the truth is ludicrous. That same could have been accomplished by simply contacting the witnesses. The board agreed with the Sunset Commission that they would strengthen the enforcement process consistent with the staff's recommendation, emphasizing formal training for the board's investigators in investigative techniques and engineering issues. You state in your self-evaluation that the investigators are highly trained and experienced. This has not been our experience. I have considerable documentation that I will provide to the Commission that clearly demonstrates that the Enforcement Division does not function as intended. I will suggest to the Commission that an investigator who's incapable of picking up a phone to contact any of the dozens of witnesses that were provided in a complaint should at a minimum be retrained. Your self-evaluation states that an investigation of the facts, including interviews with the complainant and witnesses, are conducted. This couldn't be further from the truth. In the 2 years that it took to resolve a complaint, not a single witness whose names were provided were interviewed, nor were we. The Enforcement Committee, in fact, was incapable of the simple task of sending regular 90-day notices that were required, and it was only after prompting that they did so. I will demonstrate to the Commission that none of their mandates regarding enforcement are being upheld, and that the Board is failing to deliver to their objective of protecting the public. The current staff is in possession of concrete evidence that an engineer issued a report with a repair without satisfying himself as to the sufficiency of the repair, that he lied as an expert witness in a court proceeding, defended a repair in court, and now states under oath that he didn't even look at the repair. In fact, the current staff is in possession of evidence in the form of a sworn deposition by this engineer that he in fact lied to the board in an informal conference when he stated that he had reviewed the repair. Perjury is a violation of the Engineering Practices Act that you're sworn to uphold. The actions of this engineer have cost us and many others our homes. In spite of the numerous violations of the Act, the staff continues to protect an engineer who continues to practice in a manner that harms the public. I will be providing evidence that the staff and board continue to ignore so that the Commission can see firsthand how they fail to enforce the Act. What purpose is a law if it's not adhered to or enforced? And what purpose is a law if it's not enforced uniformly? Why are some engineers favored while others guilty of the same or even lesser violations more severely sanctioned? I submitted an open records request on June 21st of this year, and several days later I paid $742 from my own pocket to cover half of the estimated cost of this request. To date, I have received nothing. This is a violation of the Texas Public Information Act, and I have the right to prompt access to the information for inspection. I also have a right to be treated uniformly, yet I've been unable to ever even speak with the Public Information Officer. Mr. Helmkamp is personally digging through, reading, reviewing, and sorting each piece of information requested. For what purpose? He further has acted inappropriately with my family and unprofessionally when speaking with us by belittling, berating, and obfuscating the truth, and interrogating us without our attorney present. Shouldn't that behavior be directed at an engineer who has been shown to be at fault with the board and not to us? And I don't understand, why is it that we are working so diligently to keep the public from further harm by this engineer when that is your job? That's what you're supposed to be doing. Mr. Helmkamp is hired as the agency's legal representative for enforcement actions, not to cover for any deficiency in enforcement matters. If there's one member of the board interested in seeking the truth, I would be more than happy to share with you any of the information that I will be providing with the legislators. I thank you for your time. Nothing I say or do here today is going to help us in any way, but I remain determined that nobody should have to ever go through what I've gone through, and that the public needs to be protected because this board is not doing it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I believe that case is still under...
The case you referred to, the first one is closed.
First one's closed, but the second one is still...
I believe she withdrew the second one.
I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
No, I'm just getting clarification. Thank you for your comments. We do indeed take serious the health and welfare of the public, and I'm sure all these allegations will be looked at closely, and we will get to the bottom of whatever needs to be done, take appropriate actions, both to protect the public, protect you, as well as the rights of the individual accused. Any other comments from any board members? Okay. Thank you for being here today and bringing us your comments. Is this a good time to go in?
We can. I believe he's here.
Yes. What's his name? What's his name?
All I know is his name's Luis from Senator Hinojosa's office.
Okay. I believe